Welcome, everyone. It's Donelle McAdams, and we are here today for Odd Mondays. And today we're going to have a lot of fun with several different templates that you may already have, or after you see how easy they are to use, you may want to get them. So we're kind of on a little bit of a circle theme today. And so you're going to notice that most everything that I'm doing either is using circles, or when it ends up, it is in a circle. And I might show you some ways that make some things easier that you have tried, but you have had issues with. So let's see. The first one I think I'm going to start out with, we're going to need to draw our crosshair here. And so I've got my crosshair ruler that has 16 points on it. So I'm going to just do every other one. And then the ones that I skip, I'm just going to do with a dash line. And that differentiates if I'm doing something and I need to know which one is different. So we've got that there, and I need to cross in the center. So we have got our points. Now this particular template is, oh, I just lost one underneath my, there we go, is one that really turns out nicely, but when you look at it, you think, I don't know about that. And the name of this one is Circles on Quilts Spinning Wheel 28. And so as you can see, we've got the small little hole there. So I'm going to need to get my tape. I think it's still good to stick there. And that's my thumbtack. So for those of you that have never seen me do this, it is a piece of the RNK tape. It's pink like this. And I just stick my thumbtack up through that. So now when I put that on there, I don't have a hole in my fabric. So let's go ahead and get over here. I've got my machine all set. And I'm going to put that on there. I'm just going to kind of test it to see if it's going to stay. I don't think it's going to. So let me just you can see it marked right on there. It pulled that off. I reused mine several times, but that one's kind of been sitting on top of my machine for about 2 weeks, and it might have just dried out a little bit. So let's get another one here and put that on. So I'm going to set that right on there. You'll notice that there's a line right here I'm lining up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here and stitch to here. So let's just get in there and go ahead and pull up that bobbin thread. Always good to have tweezers handy to get a hold of that bobbin thread. Put the foot down away from the template and then come back into where you actually want to begin. All right. So here we go. And when you land back down here, that's as far as you're going to go. And you're going to move this over. Get my threads out of the way here. Because this is one that you're going to go around several times to make the finished design. So this could be a little confusing if you've never done it before. Now, I will tell you, I have in the past used just that part of the template there and made it into a leaf. Now, it doesn't come together down here, but you can work that together or put it behind another template, so it does make a very good leaf. Now, I also want to point out, as I went from there to there, do you see that little etching right there? That etching is telling us we've done what we're supposed to do because that lines up with a previous stitching. We're going to move it here. It's going to line up with that line and that etching. Lining up right here. Now I'm going to turn this a little bit so that you can see it a little bit better. So I'm lining up. There's a line. You can't see it out here, but there's one right there. Now, it's not going to come back to here. Obviously, we're way too close. And so that's why I was saying it's going to be a little different than what you're used to, because this is going to overlap. Uh-oh. What happened there? Somebody's not happy. And that's not me. It's obviously, I'm happy. Let's see what happened down here. Oh, looks like the bobbin thread got caught. All right. So I'm going to show you what I would do if this actually happened on a project. I would bring that so that that needle comes right back in that point. And I'm going to pull that bobbin thread up. There we go. Put that needle back down in place. And this will kind of overlap just a few stitches. And I'll be able to tie that thread off. Well, I don't know what the deal is today, so let's give it another shot here. First thing to do when that happens is to change the needle. Thankful for this nice big tray down here where I can easily find my tools that I need. Whenever you change your needle, or your foot for that matter, always use a screwdriver. Because you need to tighten that back up. Things look okay down there. So I'll be doing the same thing again. It seems happier now. And you can tell that since I'm using a template and could line it up, I can knot this off. And the same with this one. Obviously, this is the one we started with. So now I'm going to get those out of my way and move around. Make sure it's back on your pen. This is lining up right there. My line is lining up over here. That must have been it. And you'll notice our spaces are not even. So we have one more round to go. I'm going to go ahead and tie these to get them out of my way. For those of you that have never seen me do this, I tie that loop. I take my needle and I put it in the loop and right back to that spot. And I pull the knot away from the surface of the fabric. So I'm not going to have to worry about having enough thread to get underneath there. So I want to get right in that same spot. And that's a side threading needle that I'm using. And the knot easily pulled right in there, so you can't even really see it. I'm going to cinch up a little bit here so I can cut that thread, and the ends will go right down in there. Now I can tell it was not happy because it skipped a stitch back there. So I pull that loop through, take that needle in the middle and right there on the point. And when I pull that down, you can see I'm in control. I've got a little helper here. You might hear her. Are you wanting to help today, Ruthie? You wanting to help today? If it comes out like that, you're just going to pull them both back through, since there was only two of them there, and go again, because you can't just thread the needle and put it back in, because the knot can't go through two places. So you can see now it was so fine, it just goes right in there. So that's an easy way, and you can tell we have been able to continue on. Now, Miss Ruthie, you're going to have to move over, honey. Okay, so there we are. I'm lining up down here. This will be one where I'm going to have to pull this back and get it out of my way. Right there where we started is where it will end once we've gone all the way around. I'm lining that line up with that out there. This is lined up. That etching right there is lined up. And you can see now this is all starting to have the same spacing, which means we're almost finished. This happens to be a size 11.5, which means from point to point, it would be 11.5. And you can see right there is where we're coming back to. Now I can pretty well tell that's correct. However, let's just check it. I use my left hand so I don't get in your way, because what we want is right from that corner. So I'm just a little bit off, so I'm just going to push it just a smidge and remeasure much better. So I'm right back there. I'm just going to pick my template up off that pen so I can get it out of the way enough to tie that knot. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up, take the foot up, pull it away, and then pull it back to that spot so that I can pull my bobbin thread up. So this time when I pull back, that's my bobbin thread that's coming up there. And the one that is moving, which happens to be this one, is the one that I cut just about an inch away from the surface of your fabric. And then I'm going to leave my needle thread long enough to work with. And you can see how pretty that design is. So I'm going to take all of those threads. I like to cut them off and make them even because there are 4 of them and I don't want 4 different lengths. Pull that back and put it right there in the center. And with that side threading needle, I'm going to go right in that same spot. Bury that thread. Pull those tails through. Well, that's weird. They don't want to come. And they're all right there. There we go. Pull that knot in, popped. And this tail right here, I'm just going to cut it off. Pull that up and carefully cut that off. So that is a design that does take all 16 lines to do. And I think it's a really pretty design. This template comes in other sizes, but again, this is called the Circles on Quilts Spinning Wheel, or Spinning Wheel 28. And there's your shape. And as I said, I can use that as a leaf shape if I was doing something else and I wanted maybe something to stick up out behind it or whatever. So much fun with playing with a lot of different types of templates once you understand how it's going to work. So now another one that's really popular is one that's called spinning feathers. Now I could not seem to locate my bigger ones, but this one was from when we had the arrows box. And so I'm going to use that, and this can be done with obviously the other sizes too. I'm going to use this size right here. It's a 4-inch Spinifex. And again, I will need to mark and get my fabrics laid back there flat. I think I only need the 8, and I've got that. Now I'm using iron off chalk that I have taken the chalk out of my Choco pen. This is called a Clover Choco pen, and I replaced it with iron off chalk. So now this one does not use a thumbtack. So let's get over here so we can see. And we are going to start right in the center. And the way this one is designed, I'm going to show you both methods of doing it. I'll tell you which one I like the best. So I'm going to go ahead and put that needle back down in that spot. And the way this one is designed is to start here, go around to A, and then go back to B and stop. And then you're going to rotate over here. You got a little line there and a little line there that line up across. You got a line here that lines up this way. And then you just come back to the center. And that works fine. There's no problem with that. But I like to do it. I think it's a little easier and it looks a little bit more harmonious. And that is coming this way and then back to the center. Move it over, line it up, and repeat that whole process. And that way, the thickness or the thread is consistent all the way around the design. And I actually think it's a little easier to do. You don't have to constantly be thinking, stop here, move there. So now that design is finished, and all I need to do is a few dance steps, as I say, in the center, and then I can pull my thread up. But I want to show you how I can add a little bit of flair to this. If you just take this template and pull this acrylic in, so where it first touches is usually over here about B, then you can just follow here pull it in again. Pull it in again when it first touches there. And you can add that fun little design. I'll go ahead and do it one more time so you can see how easy it is. So again, hopefully I'm giving you some ideas on some things that you might not have seen. Now, what I like to do, since again, I'm doing a few little stitches, I'm just going to pull that needle up, pull my foot up, pull away, pull back into that center. And this time when I pull up, I still have my bobbin thread, but I don't need to do anything because I've pretty much tacked it. So I can cut all of those threads close. And on the back, I don't have any knots or anything like that because I pulled that bobbin thread up. So I think you really like this design. I use it a lot. It's great because I have the whole set and it has a bunch of sizes. And you can see I can even do a smaller one here that's a 3-inch, and that means it's 3-inch from side to side. So again, that is called the Spinifex Feather. And lots of fun things that you can do with that. You could then do more out here. You could come and have that the center and just come around till it meets. You would actually start like right like that and work it around so that it is more of an all over design. But that's our Spinifex Feather. And for those of you that got subscription box for, I want to say it was April, May, and June, you got that template. Trying to put them back so I don't get them all mixed up later. Now, another thing I want to show you today that goes in the circle is the circle wreath feathered leaf. So hopefully I can say that just a few times so that we will have it. And I'm only going to do part of it. So I'm going to be able to get it all on here. So I'm going to come out here like this. And I can't remember whether this one uses all the lines or not. So better be safe than sorry. All right. Still need my middle. And this one does use a pen. Now on this particular template, you have a 1 that has a hole, you have a 2 that has a hole. Up here you have a 1 and a 2. So I am going to do the 1 first. That's a novel idea, huh? And this line will be on the line there. And so I'm working on this one up here. So I'm going to bring that in, and right on that line, I'm going to bring up my thread. It's a lovely backing, isn't it? Put my needle back down, and it doesn't matter whether I go down and around or up and back down, whatever. And remember, this is the feathered leaf. And then what I'm going to do is go to the next line, which is right there, and I stitch to that spot. And then I do the next one. I move it to the next line and stitch to that spot. And the way this is curved, it's going to give you a perfect circle. I'm glad I marked all the lines. Mainly because, like right there, you got to know where to stop also. Move it to the next one. Stitch the line. Right here's the line. This will be the last one. I'm not even going to get the full thing on there, so I'm going to have to cut over here just to get back. That looks kind of bad. All right, so now that we've got that done, I'm just going to cut my threads. I've already shown you how to tie and everything. And then what we're going to do with the next one is we will put it on 2. Or if you want the line closer, you can go down because there are 2 more holes. Okay, so let's see what at the bottom hole is going to put it right on top of that same one. I don't want it right on top, so I'm going to go on the middle one there, and we will pretty much be doing the same thing that we did before, except this time the leaf is going to angle towards the center. So we'll start right here. Move it forward till it lines up with the line. And stop when it's on that line or comes back and meets itself. Move it to the next line. You see the little space that's between there? Again, it just simply amazes me how these templates are designed. And make those of us who, oops, went too far while I was talking. Those of us who are not skilled in free motion to really have a creative outlet. So you can see how it's got the shape in between there, or the space in between there. Oh, went again too far. It's always good to be able to catch your mistakes before you get too far away from it. Move it forward. This will be the last one because I'm out of space. But I can do this part. Actually, nope, I'm off the batting. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut that. So isn't that pretty? We also have that same template with the traditional feather. That's the more rounded feather. But I think that's really a pretty wreath. And again, this is called circle feathered leaf. And this happened to be the 11.5-inch size. So I think I even have that one. Yeah, in the 5.5. It works the same way, but it's a 5.5. So those are a lot of fun. Let's see now what we got here. Okay. The one I want to show you now, let me just get a new piece of fabric. I won't need to draw the crosshair square, but I will need to use a shape. Sounds kind of funny to say use a shape, but I'm going to use my simple circle 2-inch. That comes with your very basic sampler set 1. And this is something that I've been doing recently, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm going to show you the easy way to do it. So I've been using the 12-inch spine that we use normally on feathers. And the easiest way to do this is to make sure that when you draw the end like this. So what you're going to do is you're going to draw up here. So if we were putting this, let's say, into a 3-inch border, you're going to have it looking like that. And then you want to continue on. So I like to look at the halfway point because that's going to overlap. And I'm going to continue on that way. And over there, I'm going to have this line. And you'll see why those are important later. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that simple circle. I'm going to start right there, put that foot down, put my needle down, get my thread up. And I'm going to line this back here up with my line. And as you know, when we make a circle, we don't want to stop and start and have to tie off at the end of each one. Now I've overlapped that stitching, so I'm just going to trim that off. If I was actually making this as a design, I would have secured those threads. Now, if you want to embellish, you want to start from the very right now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that in so that touches. Pull it in so it touches the one I just stitched. And pull it in again. Get that right back in that hole. I'm going to raise that up and get it right back in that spot. I'm going to line that up with that line. And I come up here and line it up with that line. And remember, I like to go so that it's opposite when you're doing the double stitching. So the first one, it was on the right. Now it was on the left. I decide whether I want these to be on the same side or opposite. I'm going to say opposite. Get again right back to that hole. Line up this one up here. Doesn't matter that it's not lined up anywhere but right there. That's all you need. When I get to here, I would do the same embellishment, but I'm just going to move on so you can see. Now, obviously, you can do this same type of thing in a straight line, but I think it's fun to mix it up a little bit. The reason that happened there is I didn't make sure my needle was back in that spot. So it's real important that you get that needle right back on that line. Looks like the same thing here. So what I got to do now is come back to that line and move up. Uh-oh. Well, here's what I'm going to do in that case, because I'll never get it right back on that circle. Well, I'll try. I will try. So how do you do that? Spacing gauge. Line it up. Make sure you got your 1/4 of an inch. Oh my goodness. Lucky me, huh? Now it looks like I went the wrong way first, so when I get back down here, I'll just go back this way. And that's a way, when you see that it's going to overlap like it did here and here, that's a way you can make that not happen. So let's show you that again. So when I get to here, I can just stop and go back this way so my circles don't overlap. So what was the importance of these lines? It's as you make this longer, you want to be able to line this up to move on. So like now I've got this here, I can put this on this side and draw it that way. So it just makes it easier than having to go, well, where does this exactly line up? If you've got these lines, you're able to do that. You're not doing anything with the stitching or anything on those, but it just makes it easier to line up. But isn't that a fun little thing? I mean, I'm thinking if I had what was the song of the caterpillar, Hungry Hungry Caterpillar or something? That sounds like it should be Hungry Hungry Hippo. But anyway, I think there's a caterpillar song that, that could be a thing that you do. So, all right. Last but not least for today, I am going to make an edge of a quilt here. We're going to go this way. And we're going to do an edge to edge pattern. And I'm going to say my quilt ends right here. I'm hoping that's not real regular. I'm going to draw a line at the bottom to get me started. And then I need to draw every 2.5 inches. So let's turn this over. And from there, it's just pretty much you can size up what looks straight. You could measure down there if you want. Whoa. So I don't know if this is the way Donna intended. This is a Donna McCauley template intended for the coils to work, but this works really easily for me. So you have got this coil template, and you have an A and a B. So right now, I am going to line up that center line on my drawn line right here. And I'm going to line up this line on the edge. So if I'm doing an all over pattern, that's what it's going to look like. You can see that top line's on that line. So I'm going to start right at A. Now this is a template that is shifty because it's so thin in here. So what you're going to want to do is have fingers that move. Now, honestly, I can tell, I'm going to just cut this out of the way for this, but I can tell you this is one of those that I think is like a lazy river. I'm not going to touch anything. I'm just going to go through the lazy river. And when I get over here to B, I know her intent was probably to switch this like this and go back into here. And you can do that if you want to. But when you get back into here, what are you going to do from there? Well, I'm going to show you how I do it. Okay, so I'm going to come around. Remember, I got to hold those center ones. And just kind of keep taking my fingers up and out of the way. When I get here, I'm just going to kind of backstitch a little bit. I can pull my thread up to secure it, do all that. But then I'm going to come over here and place that needle right there, pull up my thread. And again, I would pull it up and secure it, but that's not where I'm starting. I'm starting here. Okay, you see how this came down and around like that? Then this is going to do the same thing. So I'm lining up those lines. Uh-oh, that's why you want to watch it. Big mess right there. And it will not help to put any tape on the inside of that. You just got to do what I'm doing here with kind of switching hands out. So I still have this same pattern going across there. Oh boy, I'm at the edge of my quilt. What am I going to do? Well, I want to start like I did before. I'm almost at the center, but what you need to do so you don't interrupt your pattern. Now, I know there's fabric out here, but I drew my line right there. So now I have to figure out when I come up to here, which way am I going to stay in and get this coil? It's not going to really make a whole lot of difference because you're going to be stopping and jumping several times. So needle up, foot up, jump up to here. Needle up, foot up, jump over to here. And that's pretty much all you need to do because the other is outside. So I'm just going to cut that. I'm going to need to cut my jump stitches. So you can see I did not interrupt my pattern. It still has the same pattern going. Well, now when I start again, I don't want every one to be stacked on top of each other. So I'm going to start at halfway. And I'm going to start by lining that up. I can start here in the middle. It looks like I'm going to be able to go around to there. I'm going to have to do my needle up, come up to here, and back down to here. And then, let's see, I'm going to needle up. Well, I bet didn't do good on that. So now I'm just going to cut that thread because it's out in my margin. I'm going to come back down to here. I'm going to have to move it over a little bit because I did such an awkward looking thing. Cut that one, cut that one. And now I come back to this. And so now these will be staggered and you're back on a normal pattern. And just make sure you're doing what I'm doing here to keep your circles clean. I'm going to go back just a few stitches. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to move it over to here on that line, put that foot back down and that needle in, line it up, backstitch just a smidge. I did the same thing as I did on the first one, you guys. I get to talking and I forget I got to get those fingers working. Backstitch, cut, come over here to that horrible looking spot. Yes, I would take that out if I was really doing it. And you're going to see that I'm going to be able to stitch this whole thing. Backstitch a smidge. Because that was just right on the edge of that line. That was lucky, wasn't it? So you can use that coils pattern as an all-over pattern. Whoo, bad, bad, bad. As an all-over pattern, but just remember, this is the 5-inch. You're going to draw 2.5-inch lines up through there. It'll just keep it a whole lot cleaner for you. So I hope today you have learned some new things on Odd Monday, and I tried to show you some templates that you might not have either tried before or known how to use. So thanks for joining me. I'll see you in 2 weeks for another Odd Monday. Bye now.